He left his black wife for a younger girl, thinking he'd found treasure. But in chasing glitter, he lost gold, dropped a diamond for a stone. He got the shock of his life when he saw her in the hands of another man. The sun draped itself gently over the manicured lawns and quiet sidewalks of the suburban neighborhood, casting golden light across parked cars and blooming hedges. Birds chirped lazily in the distance. It was the kind of day that made everything look a little more peaceful than it actually was. Imani stood by her front porch, watering the potted lavender she'd planted months earlier. The scent mixed with the clean, warm air as she moved with unhurried grace, every gesture deliberate, every breath steady. There was a calmness in her now that hadn't existed a year ago. Not when her world had cracked open without warning. She was a striking woman. Deep brown skin that glowed in the sun. Natural textured hair pulled back into a soft bun and eyes that held stories few ever got to hear. In her late 30s, Imani carried herself with a quiet poise that made people instinctively straighten up in her presence. She didn't need to speak loudly to command attention. It had been 12 months since the day her husband of nearly 10 years, Malik, sat across from her at their kitchen table and confessed that he had fallen for someone else. Someone younger, he'd said. Exciting. A 24-year-old influencer with a massive following, a perfect smile, and a flair for champagne brunches and beach selfies. Her name was Tasha. Imani didn't scream. She didn't beg. She simply looked at him long and hard and said, "If you're sure, then go." And he did. Now Malik lived just a few miles away in a new townhouse with grey modern walls and a rooftop hot tub that Tasha posted about constantly. He drove a different car, wore tighter clothes, and smiled less convincingly than he used to. But in his mind, Imani hadn't moved on. He imagined her alone in that same house, clutching wine glasses and old memories, mourning the life he left behind, maybe crying into throw pillows, maybe watching their wedding video in secret. What he didn't know, what he never asked, was how Imani had spent the past year rebuilding herself piece by piece. The yoga classes at sunrise, the solo trip to Morocco, the way she had thrown herself into launching her consulting business, now thriving with corporate clients who valued her clarity and vision. The community she had found in unexpected places, book clubs, gardening groups, and quiet morning walks with strangers who became friends. She had done the hard work of healing, but Malik wouldn't see that. Not yet. He still believed he had left someone who couldn't survive without him. Just that morning, he had driven past her house. Something he told himself was just a coincidence. But when he saw her in the yard, standing tall with the sun catching the edges of her profile, something flickered in his chest, a tightening. He quickly turned the corner, hoping she hadn't seen him. She hadn't. Or maybe she had and simply didn't care. Later that day, Malik sat with Tasha at a trendy cafe downtown, scrolling through his phone half-heartedly while she live-streamed her latest skincare haul. She was smiling wide, bathed in a ring-like glow, her voice high and polished. But his mind kept drifting back to Imani's porch, the flowers, the stillness. "Babe, do you think this pink is better than the coral?" Tasha asked, holding up 2 identical lip gloss tubes. He blinked. They looked the same. She rolled her eyes and went back to her followers. Imani, meanwhile, was curled up on her reading chair. A soft jazz record playing in the background. Her phone buzzed. A message from a friend confirming next week's dinner reservation. She smiled. She had learned to protect her peace, to build a life that didn't require outside validation to feel full. There were still wounds, of course, nights that echoed with silence a little too loudly, moments when loneliness whispered through the halls, but even then, she no longer feared those feelings. She faced them, sat with them, let them pass like storms over a steady sea. Outside, the sun dipped lower into the horizon, casting a golden sheen across the windows. Imani closed her book, stood, and walked to the kitchen to make herself tea. As the kettle began to hum, she glanced out the window toward the driveway. A silver car was parked across the street. She recognized it instantly. She didn't flinch. She didn't move. She just smiled to herself, let him watch. The summer air was warm and easy, the kind that made everything feel softer, lighter, even the edges of old memories. Imani had started showing up around town in a way that turned heads, not because she was flashy or loud, but because she radiated something people couldn't quite name. A quiet glow, a new kind of stillness, like someone who had returned home to herself. She still visited the same farmer's market on Saturdays, still ordered jasmine tea from the corner cafe, still dropped off donations at the local women's center. But now her presence felt different. She walked with an ease that hadn't been there before. Her laugh lingered longer. Her posture held no tension. And that car, sleek, black, smooth as a whispered secret, wasn't the one she used to drive. It caught Malik's eye. The first time he saw it parked in front of a florist downtown, he had pulled into the space across the street with Tasha in the passenger seat, mid-scroll on her phone. She hadn't noticed, but Malik had. The luxury SUV, polished and spotless, looked freshly detailed. And when Imani stepped out, wearing a simple cream blouse and wide-leg pants that flowed like silk, Malik's stomach did something odd. She wore minimal makeup, gold hoop earrings, and confidence like perfume. She didn't see him, or if she did, she gave no sign. That was the first moment he felt it. Not jealousy, not even regret, something stranger. Disruption. Later that week, he was grabbing coffee with an old mutual friend from his premier days, someone who still moved easily between social circles. They were exchanging small talk when the friend chuckled and said, "You hear about Imani? She just got back from Spain, I think. Or was it Greece? She's been all over lately." Malik blinked. Traveling? The friend nodded. "Yeah, solo at first. Then with someone I think she's glowing, like really glowing." Malik tried to laugh, but it came out stiff. Good for her. The words left a sour taste in his mouth. At home, things felt slightly off. Tasha was still bright, still youthful, still endlessly posting to her followers. But now Malik found himself tuning out when she spoke. He caught himself staring blankly as she unboxed PR packages or ranted about algorithm changes. She noticed, of course. "You're weird lately," she said one night, sitting cross-legged on the couch in her oversized t-shirt. "Is it work or her?" He looked up from his laptop, startled. "What?" "You heard me, Imani." Her voice was sharper than usual. "You've been spacing out every time someone mentions her. You even follow her sister now. Don't think I didn't notice." Malik opened his mouth, then closed it. Tasha watched him, eyes narrowed. "She's your ex-wife, Malik," she said flatly. Emphasis on ex. "Are we clear?" He nodded too quickly, trying to smooth it over with a smile. "Of course, don't be ridiculous." But later, when she fell asleep beside him with one arm wrapped around her phone like a second pillow, Malik lay awake staring at the ceiling, turning over everything he thought he knew. The next morning, he saw her again. Imani. He was walking through the plaza downtown when he noticed a small crowd gathered outside an upscale boutique, a pop-up event, judging by the music and food cart nearby. And there she was, Imani, standing under a canopy, chatting with the boutique owner, a glass of sparkling water in one hand. She looked effortlessly put together in a tailored olive jumpsuit, her natural hair in a high puff, sunglasses resting on her head. But it wasn't the outfit that caught him. It was the ring. On her left hand, a delicate band, gold, minimalist, and bold all at once. He squinted, trying to determine whether it was just a fashion statement. But the way she turned slightly, the way her fingers settled casually at her side, it looked intentional. He walked past slowly, hoping not to draw attention, but she turned her head briefly and caught his eye. Her smile was soft, nonchalant, not mocking, not cold, just unbothered. He nodded, unsure what else to do. She turned back to her conversation like nothing had happened. And just like that, she was gone again. Back into a world that no longer revolved around him. That night, Malik sat on the edge of the bed, staring at nothing. Tasha was recording a skincare routine across the room, speaking animatedly to her ring light and 40,000 followers. The glow from the screen lit her features like a filter. But Malik's mind was somewhere else entirely. Somewhere with soft jazz playing in the background, lavender on the porch, and a woman who didn't have to perform to be extraordinary. It was the kind of afternoon made for celebration. Soft breeze, sunlight filtering through leafy trees, and the gentle hum of conversation rising from a garden dotted with white chairs and string lights. The scent of grilled vegetables and lavender floated through the air. Laughter rang out in little pockets. Champagne flutes clinked and a jazz trio played mellow tunes in the corner. Malik adjusted his collar as he and Tasha stepped through the archway of rose-covered trellises into the party. She wore a coral dress that hugged her figure just right, already reaching for her phone to take a quick selfie with the flower arrangements. Malik offered a tight smile to the host, scanning the space. Then he froze. There, standing effortlessly radiant near a hydrangea bush, was Imani. She wore a soft gold-wrapped dress that complemented her skin like it had been sewn just for her. Her puff was higher than usual, sleek and regal, and a pair of subtle gold earrings caught the afternoon light. Her back was straight, her laugh light and unforced. But it wasn't just her presence that caught Malik off guard. It was the man standing beside her. He was tall, taller than Malik, broad-shouldered with deep brown skin and a clean-shaven head that shone under the sun. He wore a navy suit with an open collar, no tie, like he had nothing to prove. His hand rested gently on the small of Imani's back as she introduced him to another guest. They looked comfortable, synchronized, as if they had long passed the awkward beginnings of something new. Remember, your peace is power, your growth is golden. Don't chase what left, build what lasts. If this story moved you, share it with someone who needs the reminder.